So in this video, I'm going to talk about who the big four accounting firms are, what they do, who their clients are, talk about their core services, and also talk about some of the smaller departments within these firms. And if you're interested in joining one of these firms, I'm going to talk at the end of the video about what their popular entry routes are, what kind of salaries you can expect at an entry level, what progression looks like in general, and also what kind of earnings you can expect if you make it right to the top of these firms. So if you're new to this channel, this is Finance Unboxed. I'll cover the different finance careers out there, how you can get into them. So the interviews, assessment centers, all that good stuff. I'll talk about my working experience in finance. So if those are topics that you're interested in, remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any useful information. Let's get into the video. So as the name suggests, the big four are the biggest four accounting firms in the world. Now on your screen, if I can get it to work, I'll have the top 5 biggest accounting firms in the world by revenue. And you should be able to see BDO, the 5th largest firm in the world, is so much smaller than the 4th largest of the big four. Now they're known as accounting firms because they traditionally focused on auditing and tax, but these days they'd prefer to be known as professional services firms because they provide a wide range of services, which I'll get into, but I just wanted to point that out at the start. Also, aside from all these large corporations, they also work with many governments and they also work with local authorities as well. So a very brief history lesson. The big four were created by various small accounting firms merging together over the years. So in the 1900s, they were the big 8. Before 2002, it was the big 5, which included Arthur Andersen, but that was broken up after the Enron scandal. So one thing to know about the big four is that they're not listed companies like some of the largest corporations in the world. They're actually partnerships. So what this means is that certain individuals within the business, working within the business, own these businesses, so own these firms. These partners, they take a share of the profit after each financial year. Now, most of the partners in these firms have progressed through the firm, so have got promotions and got promoted up to partner. Some partners do come in at the highest level, but most of them will get promoted within these firms. So what's interesting to know about these partnerships is that they're actually a network of partnerships. So let's take Deloitte as an example. You've got Deloitte USA, Deloitte UK, Deloitte Italy, Deloitte Japan. So they all work under the Deloitte brand. So the big four are located all across the world in all the major cities: London, New York, Shanghai, Mumbai. If you think of any major city, the big four probably have a presence in there. Aside from the larger cities, in the UK, the big four have a presence in smaller regional towns as well. Now, for example, that's Southampton, Cambridge, Cardiff. So the reason why I'm saying this is because you don't have to work in London just to work for one of these big firms. So the big four are some of the largest graduate recruiters in the UK. Every year they recruit thousands of graduates, and they generally also fund the accountancy qualification that the new graduates go through, and that normally takes around 2 or 3 years. So at the highest level, the big four provide 3 core services: auditing, tax, and consulting. So let's go through them one by one. In a nutshell, auditors inspect the financial statements of a company, and they try and ensure that these statements are accurate to a certain extent and that they meet the accounting requirements. Now, they'll also assess the policies and procedures at the client's place, and they'll do a physical inventory count. So they'll go on site and actually count the stock. So that's a very, very high level overview of auditing, and I can go into more details. And if you want me to, just drop me a comment below. So the second service line, as the name suggests, provides services related to tax. Now you've got tax compliance, which is making sure that the clients are abiding by the tax regulations. So you've also got tax consulting, which is providing advice on all things related to tax. The tax teams work with large corporations and medium-sized businesses, but they also work with high net worth individuals as well. So the tax service lines have large indirect tax teams as well. Now they deal with VAT advice, VAT compliance, and there are various other sub-departments in tax, such as transaction tax, transfer pricing, and I won't go into the details in this video, but if there is interest or if people do want to know more about the tax department specifically, please drop me a comment below. The third core service of the big four is consulting, and now there are various sub-departments within consulting as well. So let's start with strategy. This is also known as management consulting. And so this department provides clients advice on products, markets, operations, risk, technology, and they compete with the likes of McKinsey, Bain, I think I just said Bolton Consulting Group, Boston Consulting Group, so also known as BCG, and those are the big 3 management consulting firms, but they also compete with the likes of Accenture and IBM as well. Now, the consulting service line is playing an increasingly more important role for the Big Four. So they've invested a lot in acquiring different management consulting firms to strengthen their expertise. In 2013, Deloitte acquired Monitor, a management consulting firm in the USA. In 2014, PwC acquired Booz Allen and then renamed them Strategy And in the same year, EY merged with Parthenon, another management consulting firm. Another important part of the consulting division is the advice and services that the Big Four provide to clients on transactions and on managing their capital. So on the merger or acquisition, the Big Four can provide advice to clients throughout the process. Now, that's very similar to what M&A teams in investment banks do, and I'll make a completely different video on the subject, so please remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. Other transaction-related services that the Big Four offer include due diligence services and valuations. And when it comes to managing capital, the Big Four can provide advice on raising capital through banks or equity raisers. They also provide advice on refinancing existing debts. So the consulting division provides a wide variety of services, and it's a very important part of the Big Four's business model. So those were the three main core services that the Big Four offers. So that was auditing, tax, and consulting. Now, most of the employees lie within those three core service lines, but there are also smaller departments which you might have not known existed. So some of the smaller departments include forensic accounting, which is investigating financial crimes. There is actuarial consulting. There is human capital or HR services, and they also provide legal services to clients. So believe it or not, the Big Four employ thousands of qualified lawyers across the world. So those were some of the smaller departments within the Big Four, and I haven't even touched on all of them. But I just wanted you to realize that you don't have to be an accountant to work at the Big Four. So just one thing to note is that all the Big Four firms are structured very differently. So where these departments and sub-departments sit within the firm will differ in all the cases. And so they also have different names and titles for similar services. So that's just something to bear in mind. So now on to how you can join one of these Big Four firms. And there are various ways that you can learn more about these firms and you can join these firms. So all of them offer summer internships, paid summer internships, and one-year placements. And some of them also offer Insight Weeks or Insight Days. As I said previously, they recruit a large amount of graduates every year, so that's the most popular route. But you don't need to be a graduate to join one of these Big Four firms permanently. Some of them offer business apprenticeships, so they take on school leavers as well. You should be able to find how you can join one of these firms through their careers websites. So now coming on to entry-level salaries, that's quite a difficult question to answer. So in terms of London, you can expect around 25 to 29k, and outside London around 21 to 24k. So the salaries can vary a lot depending on various factors such as service line, sub-department, location. So the ranges I gave you are just a guide. Now let's get into progressing up the ranks. So let's say you start as an associate in year one. Within 2 or 3 years, you should be a senior associate. 1 or 2 years after that, you should be up to manager. 1 or 2 years after assistant manager, you should be promoted up to manager. Now, after the manager level, there's quite a large variance in how quickly people progress. Some people progress after manager every 2 or 3 years, but some people might take longer. So after manager, the progression goes senior manager, director, non-equity partner, or partner. Now, the different levels vary a lot depending on the service line, the sub-departments, the different firms. So that's just a general guide. So from entry level to all the way to the top, you're looking at between 15 and 20 years, but there are people who fall outside that range as well. So one thing to keep in mind is that the speed of progression and the different ranks vary according to service line and sub-department as well. And so each of the Big Four have different titles for the different levels, so that adds to the confusion a bit more. So now finally on to partners' earnings, and these can vary a lot depending on seniority and department. And in the UK, all the Big Four have to publish their average partner pay every financial year, and I've put up on the screen the latest average pay per partner. So that was a quick and high-level overview of the Big Four. I really hope you found that video informative. If you did, I really appreciate if you drop this video a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you are interested in finance careers, please do consider subscribing, because I'll be providing a lot of useful content in the upcoming videos. One final thing, Finance Unboxed also has an Instagram and TikTok page where every day I break down a financial concept in less than 60 seconds. So if you're studying finance or are interested in finance, I think you'll find that page useful as well. And so thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.